standard song, a la George Gershwin or Rodgers and Hart. I mean...
Los Angeles, 1979. Backstage at the Troubadour, the room buzzed with rock and roll energy until Linda Ronstadt vanished without a word. She saw one name on the lineup and walked out. Not hers, not the Eagles. His. For decades, no one knew why. But now, at 78, Linda Ronstadt is finally breaking her silence. She's naming the 7 musicians she never forgave. The ones who betrayed, belittled, and humiliated her behind the glamour of the spotlight. Some were legends. Some were friends. All left scars. This isn't gossip. It's the truth behind a legacy. And the list will shock you. For decades, no one understood why Linda Ronstadt vanished that night without a word. No public drama. No interviews. Just silence. But now, after a career built on grace, grit, and elegance, Linda has finally broken that silence, revealing the 7 musicians she never forgave. The betrayals, the humiliation, and the egos that scarred her far deeper than the headlines ever revealed. It starts with the man many believed she helped make a star. Before Don Henley was a rock god, before the Eagles soared to international fame, he was Linda Ronstadt's drummer, her backup singer, a humble musician in her orbit. In the early 1970s, Linda was already packing theaters, her voice unmistakable. Henley? Just keeping time behind the kit. But as the Eagles rose, so did Henley's ego. The band that once opened for Linda now strutted around the Sunset Strip like kings. In 1975, backstage at the Universal Amphitheater, Henley crossed the line. He mocked Linda's musical choices, sneering that she should stick to covers and leave songwriting to the real artists. Linda didn't argue. She revoked his tour access on the spot. Word spread quickly. Henley's arrogance, his outbursts, his coke-fueled tantrums. Privately, Linda called him a climber, someone who'd sold his soul chasing stardom. It wasn't just ego, it was disrespect, and she never forgot it. But just as one feud cooled, another ignited. This time, it was chaos disguised as performance. In 1968, Linda crossed paths with Jim Morrison, the wild, untamed force behind the Doors. It was at a private after-party near the Whiskey A Go-Go. Morrison, already drunk and unpredictable, spotted her in the crowd and pulled her on stage mid-performance. Without warning, he tried to kiss her. Linda recoiled. Morrison stumbled, crashing into her mic stand. The room froze in awkward silence. No apology ever came. Months later, Morrison mocked her on the radio, calling her sweet but spineless. Behind the scenes, Linda never let it go. She called him a brilliant wreck, someone who poisoned everything he touched. To her, he wasn't just reckless. He embodied the toxic masculinity that polluted the rock scene she fought so hard to navigate. Then came a betrayal, not fueled by drunken antics, but by political principle. In 1976, a benefit concert for farm workers brought together Linda Ronstadt and Neil Young, 2 artists known for their passion and activism. On paper, they were allies, but backstage, things unraveled quickly. Neil rejected Linda's input, refused her song suggestions, and dismissed her style as too commercial. After the show, he told the press she wasn't built for protest. Linda Ronstadt's journey through the music industry was never just about melodies and fame. It was also about resilience in the face of ego, politics, and betrayal. Her silence for years concealed some of the most painful chapters in her career, none more personal than the feuds with musicians she once trusted or admired. One of the deepest wounds came not from a critic or competitor, but from a fellow activist, Neil Young. In 1976, both were set to perform at a benefit concert supporting farm workers, a cause Linda cared about deeply. rooted in her heritage and upbringing. On the surface, it was a shared mission, a unifying stage. But behind the scenes, Neil Young's behavior was anything but collaborative. He dismissed Linda's artistic contributions, vetoed her song choices, and openly criticized her for being too commercial. The final blow came when he told the press that she simply wasn't built for protest. To Linda, this wasn't just an insult. It was a betrayal from someone she believed stood for the same ideals. That night marked a clear turning point. She left the venue heartbroken and never again agreed to share a stage with Young. In private, she described him as loud in message but cruel in execution, a man whose activism, in her eyes, lacked the compassion it claimed to champion. If politics bruised her spirit, what came next would challenge her sense of artistic identity. In 1974, Linda had the chance to collaborate with the legendary Frank Zappa, a musician known for his genius, eccentricity, and brutal honesty. On paper, their partnership seemed like a bold experiment, but the reality was far from harmonious. In the studio, Zappa quickly dismissed her ideas, scoffing at her input and calling her sound sanitized. The tension climaxed during a live rehearsal when, in front of the entire band, he stopped the music to deliver a cutting remark. This is what happens when you hand real music to a pop singer. Humiliated, Linda didn't retaliate. She simply packed her things and left, never returning, never looking back. Though she never addressed the incident publicly, friends later revealed she referred to Zappa as brilliant but brutal. Then there was David Crosby, once a close friend and ally. Their bond was forged in the fires of Laurel Canyon's revolutionary music scene. But in 1978, during a recording session, that connection broke. When Linda asked for a simple key change to accommodate her range, Crosby snapped, "You should learn to adapt." Their disagreement turned into a public feud after Crosby went to Rolling Stone, calling her manufactured. Linda didn't respond in interviews, but the damage was done. From that day forward, his name was forbidden in her inner circle. His music was erased from her set lists. She saw Crosby not as the artist he once was, but as a cautionary tale of what unchecked ego and fame could do, even to those once considered family. As the 1970s gave way to the punk-driven chaos of a new era, Linda faced a different kind of cruelty, one that didn't come from legends, but from upstarts. At a 1979 Cleveland festival, Linda was riding a wave of chart-topping success. Elvis Costello, the brash new voice of British punk, watched from the sidelines. In front of reporters, he smirked and called Linda's set background music for brunch. Later, she confronted him. Costello, reportedly drunk, hurled another insult and walked off without a second thought. That was all Linda needed to hear. To her, Costello wasn't just rude. He represented a colder, crueler version of rebellion. Clever, but heartless. Not an artist, just another ego looking to tear down what came before. But even that bitterness didn't match the final heartbreak on her list. In 1982, Paul Simon and Linda Ronstadt prepared to record a duet, a dream pairing. On paper. In practice, it was a nightmare. From the first rehearsal, Simon nitpicked her delivery, rewrote lyrics without her input, and treated her like a student, not a peer. Every note she sang was scrutinized. The chemistry faded. The song was shelved, unfinished. Linda walked away, vowing never to collaborate with him again. It wasn't just about one song. It was about being diminished. She didn't need approval. She needed respect. And with Simon, she got none. 7 musicians. 7 moments that left marks deeper than the music ever revealed. For years, Linda Ronstadt chose dignity. While others aired dirty laundry, she held her silence. But silence isn't always peace. Sometimes it's protection. And now, by telling these stories, She's not looking for revenge. She's reclaiming her truth. Her legacy was never just about her voice. It was about resilience. She endured arrogance, exclusion, and condescension in a male-dominated world, and still rose. These revelations are not about hate. They're about honesty. Because sometimes the strongest thing you can do is break the silence that was never yours to carry. Which of these stories surprised you the most? And do you think Linda was right to stay silent all those years? Let us know in the comments. And if you want more stories from music's untold history, hit like, subscribe, and stay tuned for the next chapter. Thanks for watching.